The FBI effectively puts a bounty on Trump's life. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, holy shamoli. That's, I don't know what else to say. Okay, so here is now the absolute latest. There is so much news breaking on so many fronts. Honestly, I didn't know what to lead with today, but to me, this may be the story of the moment. Ryan Ruth, the would-be assassin, who, as you know, was set up a sniper's nest at the West Palm Beach Golf Club to assassinate Donald Trump just recently, now is obviously in custody. He has been arraigned on federal gun charges, federal gun crimes, and soon for the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Apparently now, according to federal prosecutors, several months ago is when he made the decision that he was going to attempt to kill and murder Donald Trump. He then wrote a letter, effectively a manifesto. And in that manifesto, by the way, that manifesto he left in a box along with ammunition, tools, other stuff to a friend of his. And he just said, I want you to keep it for me. When the friend saw that Ryan Ruth recently tried to assassinate and kill Trump, he was like, uh-oh, and he opened up the box. And that's where the manifesto allegedly was discovered. The manifesto was then handed over to the FBI. What to me is remarkable, before I even get to what's in the manifesto, is that the FBI, and in particular, Merrick Garland and his corrupt Justice Department, would make the decision to release this letter, this manifesto, to the public. And that's what they did yesterday. It is a handwritten letter, and they took a photograph of it and then released it to the media and effectively now to the entire world. Now, first of all, remember, when it came to the trans shooter in Nashville, Tennessee, the transgender terrorist who shot up a Christian school and murdered children, the FBI and law enforcement and the DOJ fought tooth and nail. They fought like hell not to get that manifesto released. Because they said it would lead to a negative impact on the community, on the trans community, on the investigation. Every time there has been an attempt to murder someone or a school shooting in which there was a manifesto, the FBI has done everything in their power to bury it and suppress it. No, not this time. This time, they couldn't wait to get this manifesto to the public. Which begs the question, why? Why this breach in protocol? Why all of a sudden, when you don't want any letters, any manifestos, whether it's from school shooters or terrorists or whatever's happened in the last couple of years, suddenly now you do a complete 180. Suddenly now, when it comes to Ryan Ruth and his manifesto and his letter explaining his, and they're clearly political, ideological motives for why he wanted to kill Donald Trump, suddenly you release it to the media, to the internet, and to the world. Why? That's the question. In his letter, this is what Ryan Ruth wrote. Quote, "This was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I failed you. I tried my best, and I gave it all the gumption I could muster." So, he's anticipating that he's going to fail. But in the letter, he says essentially there are two reasons why he's doing this. And this is what is absolutely chilling. The letter reads like an anti-Trump screed that you could hear on The View, on MS Left BC, on This is CNN, or the pages of the New York Times or the Washington Post, or frankly any speech given by Comrade Kamala or Dementia Joe Biden. It is really nothing more than ordinary anti-Trump hatred that you get from the media or the Democratic Party on a daily basis. According to him, Trump is a threat to democracy. Trump must be taken out because democracy is at stake. He then goes on to say that to be president of the United States, and these are lines almost lifted straight from Joe Biden's speeches, you have to be kind, you have to be caring, you have to be selfless, and you have to put the interests of humanity first, i.e. you have to be a globalist, i.e. we're basically running a hippie commune, not a country. And that is almost verbatim what Joe Biden says in his speeches over and over and over and over again. But in particular, he cites two reasons why Trump had to be knocked off. Whacked, as the mob would say. Number one, he says that Trump's decision to pull out of the Iran deal was absolutely unforgivable. Unforgivable. And in his book, not the letter now, but in his book that was self-published, he actually says that he wants Iran to assassinate Trump and even himself for having voted for Trump in 2016 and then, of course, regretting his decision. And he says, do the world a favor and take out President Trump. And the second reason, and I'm going to get to this a bit later, he is a pro-Ukraine fanatic. That Donald Trump is not committed sufficiently to the defeat of Putin and Russia in Ukraine. And that he believes the entire world needs to send mercenaries, their citizens, their armies, all of their money in order to guarantee Ukraine's victory over Mother Russia. And that Trump's decision and call for a negotiated settlement is such a betrayal of Slava Ukraini, glory to Ukraine, is such a betrayal of Ukraine that it is unforgivable and he must die. And then comes the chilling part. And this is the part, as I went on X yesterday and said, this is unforgivable what the FBI has just done. To say it's outrageous, it's an understatement. He then wrote, I will offer $150,000 to whomever can complete the job. In his note, he explicitly says, I've been saving money for my entire life. This is how much I have left in my bank account. Whoever finishes what I started, I don't care where you are, I don't care where you live, I don't care what part of the world you come from. You put a bullet in Donald Trump's head and you kill him, you're going to get $150,000. I'm putting effectively a bounty on Trump's head, on his life. That the FBI would release that the FBI would let the world know in that manifesto, you take out Trump, 150 large is yours. As Don Jr. himself, Donald Trump Jr. said on X, and the family, the Trump family, to say they're apoplectic is not accurate. I mean, they're losing their minds. As Don Jr. put it, the recklessness, the irresponsibility of the FBI and Merrick Garland's DOJ to put this bounty out on my father's head, to tell every whack job, every nut job, every crazy, unstable person, you want to collect $150,000? You want to be a hero of the resistance? Finish what I started. Kill my father. As Don Jr. said, and I agree with him, the FBI now is going as far as they could possibly go to say, kill Donald Trump. Twice you failed. Third time, let it be the charm. And you're going to collect $150,000 for taking out the president or the former president of the United States. As I said on X, the FBI wants Trump dead. And they have now, by releasing this manifesto, put a bounty on his head. Heads need to roll. And my question now to you, what does Trump do now? 620 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, so this is now, I'm going to read to you, it's a handwritten letter that Ryan Ruth wrote, apparently gave to a friend, well, to be more accurate, put in a box, which he gave to a friend. This box apparently contained ammunition, tools, other odd items, but it's his manifesto. Apparently he gave it to a friend of his several months ago. He, according to prosecutors, he had been tracking Trump for several months. He had been following him to numerous rallies, numerous events. He was determined to try to assassinate him. He apparently was waiting for him at his West Palm Beach golf club the day of the assassination. He came in at 2 o'clock in the morning and apparently waited for 12 hours, creating a sniper's nest with his SKS, basically an AK-47 style rifle, an SKS rifle, 11 rounds in the magazine with a high-powered scope. He had 2 backpacks full of ceramic plates to basically act as bulletproof plates, anticipating that there would be return of fire as he would fire at the president. And had it not been for a Secret Service agent who spotted his rifle through the fence and began to fire on him, Trump would most likely be dead. A witness then spotted him, took a picture of Ryan Ruth, a picture of his black Nissan that he got into and sped away in, and of course with his license plates, and they eventually caught him. This is the letter that Merrick Garland's Department of Justice and the FBI, and this is clearly being done by the Biden-Harris regime, as Don Jr. said. This is a decision made by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and they released the letter to the world, his so-called manifesto. And let me just read to you a part of it. Quote, "Dear world," so it's addressed to the entire world, "this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I am so sorry I failed you. I tried my best and gave it all the gumption I could muster. It's up to you to finish the job. And I will offer $150,000 to whomever can complete the job." Now, Don Jr., Eric Trump, the whole Trump family are beside themselves. To say they're shocked is to put it very mildly. They cannot believe that the FBI, the DOJ, and that the Biden-Harris regime would release this not just to the public here, but to the entire world. And here is what Don Jr. wrote on X. Quote, "WTF, What the blank. Why is Kamala's DOJ publicizing Ryan Wesley Ruth putting a bounty on my dad's head? 3 question marks. He's completely right. He's absolutely, completely right. And to me, I think it's now obvious. And I don't know if you agree or disagree. I want to open up the phone lines. 617-266-6868 is the number. The FBI is clearly now determined to take out Donald Trump. This is beyond reckless. This is beyond irresponsible. Nobody can be that stupid at the FBI. I'm sorry. But, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. There's a certain point where you're like, it's pretty obvious. You don't release the manifestos of school shooters, of other assassins. As I mentioned, the Nashville trans school shooter, the one who went to that Christian school and shot up those kids and those teachers. My God, the FBI, it was a legal jihad, a legal war that they waged to keep that manifesto from being released to the public. This, no problem. The moment they got it, they read it, click, 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 took photos of it, I guess on their iPhones or whatever, and boom, that went all over the world. It went to the American media, to the British media, then it went to the Middle Eastern media. It's everywhere now. And this guy is calling for someone to finish the job? And this is what you send out to the world? Now, furthermore, what is also crystal clear is, and he says this in the letter, that Donald Trump is unfit to be president of the United States. He's adamant on that point. And because he's unfit to be president, and because he poses a threat to democracy, he must be taken out. Now, what strikes me most about the letter, and you can agree to disagree, it's not the rantings of a madman. It's not this stream of consciousness where you go, woohoo, geez, this guy's really crazy. No. It's something, as I said, that you would hear every day from the media, from the Democratic Party, from Kamala Harris, from Joe Biden. It's just regurgitating their talking points about the threat that Donald Trump poses to America and to the world. Their constant hysteria and panic porn and fear-mongering. And it is that climate of hatred that the Democrats have created that led to Ruth and God knows what else. 6:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very quickly, because I want to go to the jammed phone lines. Here's another part of the letter I just want to read to everybody, because it clearly echoes lines that have been used again and again and again by Dementia Joe, by Joe Biden, and by Comrade Kamala Harris. So here's what he writes. After he offers his $150,000, the bounty, to whomever can complete the job. Here's what he writes. Everyone across the globe, from the younger to the oldest, knows that Trump is unfit to be anything, much less a U.S. president. U.S. presidents must at bare minimum embody the moral fabric that is America and be kind, caring, selfless, and always stand for humanity. Now, I cannot tell you how many, this is not original on my part, so many people have made this point, which is that you look at Biden's speeches, he's used this line hundreds of times, that you must embody the moral fabric of America. It's like a line in almost every speech that he gives when he attacks Trump. I.e., I do, Trump doesn't. As for the kind, caring, selfless, stand for humanity, that's what Kamala always says about Joe Biden. Joe, we love Joe. Oh, for 4 years that she was vice president. Joe Biden is incredible. He's kind. He's caring. He's selfless. He always stands for humanity. So this is not the ravings of a madman. This is not this stream of consciousness. You know, that's what initially I thought, well, what I'm going to read is, some crazy guy. No, you look at this and I'm like, these are the typical cliches, the typical slogans, at times almost verbatim, the actual lines used by Joe Biden, by Kamala, by the Democrats, and especially by the anti-Trump media. This could have been written by Joy Behar. Really, seriously. This could have been written by Jake Tapper. This could have been written by Rachel Madcow on MSNBC. I could go. This could have been written by David Muir and Lindsay Davis. Now, the FBI, look, I'm sorry, that you got to clean house. Like, this is beyond, look, enough is enough now. You're playing now with serious fire. What is it, 2 assassination attempts wasn't enough? They're really goading and egging some unstable person to finish the job by releasing this manifesto with the bounty on Trump's head. I mean, they're basically, look, they're begging someone. Will someone finally rid us of this meddlesome Trump? Will someone finally, for God's sakes, don't miss? I mean, that it screams that the FBI and the DOJ would do this. That's what they're essentially now saying. 617-266-6868 is the number. Agree, disagree. Text line is on fire. I want to go to the phone lines. Let me start it off with this. Brilliant text. This is from 617. Jeff, I think the letter was written by the FBI or somebody close to the FBI. Finding the letter after the fact with an apology that he missed, along with the bounty combined with the fact that the letter was released to the public. Something smells. Something is not right. To me, this guy is clearly a CIA asset. And by the way, where does he get the money for this $150,000 bounty if he claims he's broke? Where does the bounty come from? 617, excellent points. Look, that's exactly what crossed my mind. I'm like, I don't know if he wrote this. I thought the exact same thing, 617. I'm like, did somebody at the FBI write this for him? Now, number one, how did he know he was going to fail beforehand? He's been tracking him for several months. Apparently, this letter, I'm just going by what the feds are saying. According to the feds, this letter was given to a friend/witness months ago. And in a box. And here, just keep this box. He said, don't open it. Just hold it for me. Okay. And then the friend only opened it when he heard the news of the attempted assassination. And it's like, oh my God, Ryan Ruth, that's my neighbor. I know this guy. And that's when he opened the box. And then according to the feds, 3 days later, notified law enforcement that he had the box and he had this manifesto in it. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know who wrote it. It's very suspicious. How did he know he was going to fail? That to me is a big red flag. And where's he getting the $150,000 from? Okay, but that's speculation. What we know is that the FBI took a photograph of whatever we call from your iPhone, a picture, and then literally released it to the media and to the world. And as everybody's pointing out, they never do this with any other assassins, shooters, murderers with their manifestos. Only this time they did. Why? Why? And the Trump family is convinced because they wanted the world to know, A, the assassin saying, finish the job, and B, you finish it, you're going to get paid. In other words, it's a bounty. Go finish what I started. Now, one final point, and this to me is beyond disgusting. Polls have now come out, opinion polls, in which Democrats now, many of them say, they wanted the shooter to succeed. They're openly admitting now, when a pollster calls them, yeah, I want him dead. Yeah, Ryan Ruth should have killed him. They either say they want him dead or they're ambivalent. They literally say, well, I want him dead. I just don't know if I should say it to you. These people are sick. They're sick. I'm telling you, they're sick. But this is what happens. I've said it again and again and again, and it bears repeating. When you keep saying democracy is at stake, when you keep saying it's the end of days, should Trump win in November, when you keep saying he's Hitler, he's a fascist, he will end America and the world as we know it, when you instill this kind of climate of fear and hatred, well, some lunatic, some unstable person is going to naturally conclude, hey, if democracy is on the line, if we're never going to have another election, if this guy is a dictatorship in waiting, if this guy's the second coming of Adolf Hitler, hey, someone needs to blow his brains out. It is that inflammatory, incendiary, reckless, criminal rhetoric that has now brought the country, I believe, to the breaking point. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868 is the number. Lines are loaded. Vince in Deutschland, in Germany. Vince, you're going to kick us off. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, Vince.
Listen, first off, I'm just going to say these are the rantings. If he really wrote the letter, these are the rantings of a depraved individual. A lackey.
Vince, can you do me a favor? We can barely hear you. Can you get off speakerphone, please?
Sure thing. Sure thing. How's that?
Much better. Vince, loud and clear. Please start from the beginning. Go ahead.
Okay. If he really wrote this letter, these aren't the rantings of a lunatic. These are the rantings of a depraved individual, okay? A lackey, a coward, and a clown. Because any professional, number one, wouldn't have the muzzle sticking through a hole in the chain link fence, all right? That's number one. No competent assassin would take the job for $150,000. All right? This is assassination porn for the Netflix generation, which is the base of the Democratic Party. All right? The FBI are cowards. Merrick Garland is a coward. And if
Vince, can you do me a favor? I'm up against a hard break. Please hang on. I find it interesting. You said assassination porn for the Netflix generation. That's the base of the Democratic Party. I want you to elaborate on that. More with Vince. Your calls next. 649 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, unbelievably, incredibly. Really, you want to talk about just when you thought they couldn't go any lower. FBI and the Biden-Harris Department of Justice, led by Merrick Garland, have now released the manifesto allegedly written by Ryan Ruth, the would-be assassin of Trump, in which he says, I'm to blame. I wanted to kill him. He's unfit. He's a threat to democracy. He's got to be taken out. And to finish the job, because I failed, I'm offering anybody or anywhere around the world $150,000. Take him out. So my question to you, should the FBI have released that manifesto? The Trump family now says they've essentially put a bounty on Trump's head. And does the FBI want Trump dead? 617-266-6868. Let's go right back to Vince. He is in Germany, obviously a veteran himself. Vince, you were saying this is assassination porn aimed at the Netflix generation that is the base of the Democratic Party. Ruth was a joke of an assassin. $150,000 is an insult for any professional mercenary or assassin. Please, Vince, pick up where you left off.
Yeah, so any competent assassin, first off, would laugh at $150,000. Secondly, you ever see The Day of the Jackal, the original with Edward Fox? I think it's like from the 1970s, where he assassinates Charles de Gaulle, and he's hired by officers of the OAS, which is a shadow group within the French army.
Yes.
And, yeah. I mean, if you go back and watch that movie, those are the telltale signs of a hired gun, a competent assassin who does it for money. All right? Now, if Trump were really Hitler, people would take the job, serious people would take the job, not worrying about their own personal safety and the outcome. As long as they accomplish the mission, they would take the job. Forget about the money. The FBI is nothing but a bunch of cowards, and Merrick Garland is a weasel, Jeff. He's a weasel, and I hope he's listening to this show. Let him know that Vince in Deutschland says, you are an effing weasel. And guys like you get choked out until your eyes bulge out of your head. You know what I mean? This is a joke. I mean, all the Netflix generation assassination porn, the Civil War movie, it's all projection. It's all projection for a bunch of depraved individuals who don't have the balls to do it themselves. And Obama is a coward, too. They're all cowards, Jeff.
I agree. No, Vince, I agree. Look, they don't want to get their hands bloody, you know? They want someone else to do their dirty work for them. And look, it's obviously, forget a dog whistle now, Vince. It's a bullhorn to any mentally unstable person out there. You know, do us a favor. Take them out. This is so grotesquely irresponsible and reckless and incendiary. I just, honestly, Vince, it boggles the mind. I mean, I'm a talk show host. My business is words, and I'm speechless. Vince, as always, dynamite call. Thank you for that call, Vince. And as always, thank you for your service. 617-266-6868. So let me put it on the table for all of you. Should the FBI have released the manifesto? And is Donald Trump Jr. right? Have they just put a bounty on Trump's head? 617-266-6868. And let's even have a little bit of fun. I know it's a serious topic, but, either you laugh or you cry, right? Do you think he wrote the manifesto himself? Do you think Ryan Ruth wrote that letter himself? Or, like most of you that are texting into the show and emailing the Kuhner Man and messaging me on Messenger, you think the FBI or someone tied to the deep state, CIA, whoever, actually wrote that letter? 617-266-6868. Okay, this is a brilliant, absolutely brilliant text that I just got maybe about 10 minutes ago. And it's from Kevin in New Hampshire, 603, my bad, 603. Jeff, on top of all this, I don't know if you saw this or not, but Congressman Matt Gaetz came out at the end of last week and revealed that he had a DHS official, a senior Department of Homeland Security official in his office, who came to him to reveal that U.S. intelligence knows of at least 5 assassination teams, 3 foreign and 2 domestic, that are here in the country to assassinate President Trump, and that they've known this before the event at Butler, Pennsylvania. Since then, through Matt Gaetz, listen now to this, it has come out that one of the teams is either Ukrainian or tied to Ukraine, and that the funding for this latest shooter, i.e. Ryan Ruth, is likely tied to Ukraine. Here's my question. Is this our Ukraine foreign aid at work? In other words, where are they getting the $150,000? Well, it's from all the money we've been sending to Ukraine. Now, before you dismiss it and go, Jeff, come on, it sounds preposterous. Remember, Ryan Ruth is a pro-Ukraine fanatic. Okay, he's a zealot. And not only is he a zealot, he was actually in Ukraine. This guy traveled to Ukraine during the war and apparently tried to organize foreign mercenaries to set up their own paramilitary groups to fight on the front lines. In fact, he was there talking to CIA people. He was talking to the Ukrainian government. He was lobbying Washington. He met with members of Congress. I mean, this has all been well documented. New York Times, Wall Street Journal. They've done profile pieces on him. And what really got him in trouble, at least with Ukrainian authorities, where they said, whoa, take it easy, is when he wanted to recruit the Taliban, literally the Taliban in Afghanistan, to join Ukrainian fighters in a holy war against Russia. And that's when Zelensky and others said, no, you don't understand. Radical Islamists, Ukrainians don't want radical Islamists in Ukraine. We can't stand the Russians. But no. Don't think of bringing the Taliban. And apparently that's when Ruth decided to go back to the United States, because he was no longer welcome in Ukraine after he was really trying to push this idea of essentially Al-Qaeda and the Taliban being infiltrated into Ukraine to then be used as jihadist fighters against Russia. So my point is, he has ties to Ukraine. He has ties to the Ukrainian intelligence services. He has ties to the CIA. There's no doubt about this. And he has ties to certain elements in the Ukrainian military. Now, I'm going to get to Zelensky, because what that Judas did on Sunday is, to me, unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable. You want to talk about pure, direct, foreign election interference. Okay, but I'm going to get to that later in the show. But it's obvious now, Zelensky has basically endorsed Kamala Harris. He trashed Trump and J.D. Vance on Sunday in Pennsylvania, on our soil, in the middle of our election. And he viciously attacked Trump, viciously attacked J.D. Vance. He basically said, vote for Kamala Harris. So it's obvious. The Ukrainians want Trump gone. The Ukrainians don't want Trump to win in November. And they fear that he's coming back to power. Or to be more accurate, the Zelensky regime. I think Ukrainians in Ukraine want this war to end. But this corrupt regime that have been lining their pockets to the tune of billions of dollars, they don't want the gravy train to end. They want to keep this going and going and going and going and going, no matter how many Ukrainians die. So, am I going to rule out of hand that maybe the Ukrainians were involved in this? Absolutely not. Not with that shyster right now. That ingrate and that crook who's running Ukraine. Zelensky. So, to me, everything is now possible. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. John in Dunstable. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
For taking my call. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, John.
Now, Jeff, let's look at the big picture. Our own FBI has put out shoot to kill Trump, Melania, his son, anybody that was at his house. They raided his house for nothing. Okay? That right there, Jeff, should open everybody's eyes. Now, as far as that maggot that tried to assassinate President Trump, if anybody thinks that he was working alone, I got some oceanfront property in Vegas for sale because he was working for our government, I would say CIA and FBI. And if we don't stop this, Jeff, this is going to continue, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And Vince is right that these people are trash. And what do you do with trash, Jeff? You take it out and you throw it in the dumpster. I mean, this has to stop. President Trump, there is going to be more attempts made on the man, even if he does make it to election day and gets elected, Jeff. They're still going to try to assassinate him. These people are these communists are totally insane. And this is a very serious problem. No one's doing anything about it. The FBI should be abolished. They're scum, Jeff. They always have been scum. And, I'll leave it to you. I mean, it's just blowing my mind. That man has given up his business. He's looking at jail time, and people are worried about him making a mistake while he's talking. I mean, he's a human being, for crying out loud. And I don't understand what people think that, he tweeted, he said the wrong thing. People get down on him. He's a human being. He's trying to he's given up his life, Jeff, to save our country. And
John, I agree. I mean, I agree with you. As I like to say, not 100, 1,000%. And look, I always say, please cut the man some slack, for God's sake. He's under a pressure cooker. I mean, really, the pressure that he's under. Look at the constant pressure he's been under. It's relentless. It's nonstop persecution. Look, his children, and that's why it's not, that they don't love our country. Of course, you can see his kids love our country, but he's their father. They love their father. And they were the ones who told him after 2020, they begged him. Ivanka begged him, Don Jr. begged him, Eric Trump, they all begged him, Dad, please don't do it. Don't run again. They're going to kill you, Dad. Dad, they're going to kill you. Please don't do it. I mean, they're not stupid people. They know what they're up against. That whole family has been under tremendous pressure, unimaginable pressure that most other people would break under. So if this guy wants to, if he vents, if he loses his cool, if the guy is, angry, and I don't blame him. Honest to God, I don't blame the guy. They shot him in the face, man. They almost killed him again. And I'm sorry, John, I'm not trying to pour gasoline on the fire. Really, I'm not. But I'm sorry, this needs to be said. You release the manifesto of a man who writes in the letter, I didn't finish the job. I'm urging you, the world, i.e. anybody in the world, kill him for humanity. Kill him for the world. And I'll chip in $150,000. And you release that? I'm sorry, I'm going to swear. Are you effing crazy? Like, really, are you normal? The country is already a tinderbox. Here, Wall Street Journal. You don't get more corporate, more mainstream, more Wall Street than the Wall Street Journal. Yesterday in their editorial, came out and said that tensions in this country politically are so high now that they fear that if something happens to Trump, their words, not mine, it could lead to massive violence across the United States. And they're saying, for God's sake, they're telling the Democrats, stop this inflammatory end of days rhetoric. You're not just going to get Trump killed. They're saying it. You're going to get countless Americans killed. If they assassinate him, do you have any idea what the backlash may be? And the FBI, they're supposed to be the adults in the room, the premier law enforcement agency in the world, in theory. The Justice Department of the United States, the Attorney General of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, the President of the United States. I know he's demented. I know she's an airhead. I understand that. And Garland is a complete crook. I mean, I get all that. But still, and you make the conscious decision to release that manifesto? But you don't do that for any other shooter? Any other assassin? Only this one? Hey, come on. Come on. Come on. After a while, look, I'm telling you, you play with fire, you're going to get burned. And it's like, well, I didn't get burned the first time. Okay, well, it shot him in the ear. By a millimeter, missed by a millimeter. Okay. Well, this time they stuck his gun through the fence and the Secret Service guy spotted him and shot at him and we arrested him and okay. But eventually, God forbid, what happens if they get him? Have they thought through the consequences? And they know he's not a tyrant. Everybody knows he's not a tyrant. Why? Because he already served a term in office. What is wrong with everybody? Like, has everybody lost their minds? He thought the election was stolen from him. And he still relinquished power. What is wrong with these people? He lost the midterms. Nancy Pelosi swept into power and they kept impeaching the guy. Like, this is, I mean, seriously, it's like a collective madness, a collective psychosis. He's no dictator, and they know he's no dictator. And Vince is right. If they really believe their rhetoric, look, honestly, I'm no tough guy. I really am not, John. But really, if you bring me back to Weimar Germany, 1932, I'll shoot Adolf Hitler dead. Who wouldn't? Seriously, who wouldn't? Yeah, of course I would. Who wouldn't? And stop all that slaughter? Of course I would. They're being cynical about the whole thing. They're just using it to gin up fear and hatred to get people to vote for them because they have no record to run on. They have no policies, no successes, no achievements to run on. So it's scared the living daylights out of half the country and hope it's enough to put you over the top in November or to justify the steal. John, honestly, these people to me are so morally depraved. They have lost all credibility as far as I'm concerned, that they need to pay a tremendous price for what they've done to our country. They're normalizing political violence. They're starting now to normalize political assassinations. We've got, again, I know, John, I sound like a broken record. I know. Where are the Republicans? Where's the GOP, for God's sake? I mean, they should be demanding Merrick Garland's head on a silver platter. Who the hell would release this manifesto? Heads should be rolling right now. Instead, nothing. It's always Trump. Trump. He's always got to carry the fight. It's always him, only him. John, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. Russ in Boston. Thanks for holding, Russ, and welcome.
Jeff, as always, your analysis is on the money, without question.
Thank you, Russ.
A corrupt, evil central government, if all else fails, set the stage for President Trump to be assassinated. There's no question about this. They want to kill him because they can't get rid of him any other way. President Trump needs to have his own private security team, assess the venue, and give him the all clear before he appears on stage. The Scumocrats are guilty of everything they accuse President Trump of.
I agree. Russ, I completely agree. Russ, I think it's time for everybody to start praying for the president. I really do. I mean, I've been praying for him for a while, but by releasing this manifesto, it's a declaration of war by the FBI. 720 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare, baby. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask all of you. What do you make of the FBI's stunning, shocking decision? I mean, this has sent shockwaves really all over the world to release Ryan Ruth's so-called manifesto. I say so-called because many of you have doubts that he actually wrote it. Anyway, let's just go by the cover story. That he wrote this letter or this manifesto. He gave it to a friend of his, a witness, to in a box with other items several months ago. And in the letter, he says that he failed. So how would he know that he failed months ago? So how would he know that he failed months ago when he was on, tracking down Trump and trying to kill him? But he says that he failed, and that because he failed, he apologizes to the world. He says that Trump is a mortal threat to democracy, a mortal threat to humanity, and that he wants someone to finish what he started, to finish the job. And he is offering a $150,000 bounty on Trump's head to anyone who does it. Should the FBI have released that manifesto? And are they effectively now calling for another attempted assassination on Trump? Now, Elon Musk is weighing in on this. And he's weighing in on it in a kind of a very interesting way. This is what he links to a story that says the following. And by the way, it's if you've ever seen the movie The Joker, I know the sequel is coming out now, or is out, or whatever, or is about to become out. The villain, Batman's villain. It was a very well done movie. I saw it, where it's about a psychopath who, watching television, watching pop culture, becomes inspired to become essentially this evil villain, this mass murderer. So it's got a Joker theme to it, but this is what the story says, and this is what Elon is linking to. Democrats inspired Ryan Ruth and Matthew Crooks, the assassin in Butler, Pennsylvania, the would-be assassin, to kill. How many more would-be assassins sit before their televisions, absorbing the fevered calls to arms from President Biden? How many lost souls seeking purpose see eliminating who they perceive as democracy's greatest threat as a path to meaning. Now, I think it's brilliant. Because if you look at Ryan Ruth or you look at Thomas Matthew Crooks, they're lost souls. And they redeemed themselves by being a hero of the resistance. And this is what they've now done for Ryan Ruth. Ryan Ruth now will go down in history. Ryan Ruth was a nobody, until he tried to kill President Trump, and now releasing this manifesto. And now he will go down in the history books. He is now one of the most famous men in the world. His son, his adult son, came out and said, I'm proud of my dad that he tried to assassinate and murder Trump. His son is saying, don't worry, you kill Trump, I'll release the bounty money. You'll get your money. So his son is basically saying, finish what my father started. My father is a hero. So, do you know, this is the point of the manifesto. It's not the money. I mean, it's a financial incentive, obviously. It's that it is the ultimate dog whistle, hell, the ultimate bullhorn to every mentally unstable loser out there who sits there watching MS Left BC or CNN or The View or whatever, and all they hear is threat to democracy, threat to democracy, threat to humanity, threat to humanity. And they go, my God, I can be a hero. I could go down in history. I could become famous, world famous. I could save the world. All I got to do is take the evil orange man out. What Elon is saying is that the Democrats didn't just inspire these two assassination attempts. What he's really saying is they are inspiring these assassination attempts because they want Trump dead. And that the FBI and the CIA and the media are all in on it. I want to open up the phone lines again, and I want to ask all of you, is Elon right? Your calls next. 7:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Robert in Anchorage, Alaska. Thanks for holding, Robert, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. It's a pleasure to be on your show again.
Thank you, Robert.
My comment was that the reason they want to eliminate Trump so badly is because he is the only advocate, other than maybe like RFK Jr., to not have a nuclear war. I have spoken to so many of these moonbats that I explain that the biggest problem we have is we must not have a nuclear war. And the hatred of Trump is so great that they would say, well, I'd rather have a nuclear war under Harris than have Trump in office, because Trump in office will prevent a nuclear war. It's almost as if there is this major death wish, which I believe Zelensky and Netanyahu, in my opinion, are wanting to have nuclear war worldwide. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I don't know if Zelensky or Netanyahu want a nuclear war. I don't know about that, Robert. I don't think so. Why would Netanyahu knows better than anybody a nuclear war would wipe out the Jews because they're in such close proximity with Iran. Zelensky himself. Now, maybe he could flee, but most of his people would get wiped out as well in a nuclear exchange. No, my bigger fear, to be honest, is, and this is an open secret, I mean, I'm not saying anything nobody doesn't know, Bill Gates has openly said, and Jeff Bezos and Klaus Schwab and George Soros, the wealthiest men in the world, the globalist oligarchs of the Democratic Party, have openly said, we have about 7 billion too many people on this planet, that the planet is way overpopulated, that the world should not have more than 500 million people, 500 million. And so part of the World Economic Forum agenda, it's right there, is they want wars, they say it, they want famines, they want depopulation. So it seems to me that the globalists want a nuclear war. And in particular, the one they're really shooting for is war between Ukraine and Russia. And they really want a NATO war against Russia. What they want is the West, led by the United States, NATO, to have essentially World War III with the Russians. And as you and I are talking right now, the biggest story in the world is taking place. And it's not Hezbollah and Iran basically now on the verge of an all-out war. That's a big story. It's a big one. But the biggest story in the world is now Biden is about to greenlight what Great Britain just approved to Zelensky. Zelensky now is going to be addressing the United Nations. He's meeting with Joe Biden. He is going to present Joe Biden with what he's calling a victory plan. This victory plan is calling for unlimited missile strikes deep into the heart of Russia. Missiles, cruise missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles provided to the Ukrainian regime by the United States, by the United Kingdom, by NATO. So, NATO weapons, NATO missiles, guided by NATO satellite technology, is now, we're on the verge of this, is now going to be targeting Russian cities, Russian targets, Russian civilians. Now, Putin has come out and said, clearly, definitively, this will mean all-out war between Russia and NATO. And there will be consequences. And he's basically saying, we're going to go to nuclear war. Like Putin is saying, like, you keep escalating, and I keep telling you, stop escalating. And there's going to be a point where we're going to have no choice but to start launching tactical nuclear weapons. You have effectively now declared war on us. We're going to declare war on you. Now, this is the biggest story in the world. In the world. And the media is not touching it. They won't mention it. And one of the reasons why they won't mention it is because, A, it furthers their agenda because they want a NATO war against Russia. They've been itching for a NATO war against Russia for years. But the other one is it would hand Trump election on a silver platter. Because unlike these crazy moonbats that you're talking to, Robert, and I hear you because I get the emails from these crazy people all the time, they'd rather have a nuclear war with Kamala than have peace under Trump. I'm serious. They're that insane. Most Americans are not insane. Most Americans are normal. They want to live. They want self-preservation. But this is the biggest story in the world. And I'm telling you, you can hold me to this. Biden is now going to greenlight it. He's going to give Zelensky the go-ahead for his so-called victory plan. And his victory plan, I just want all of you to know this. Unlimited weapons, unlimited money, unlimited war. And this is now what NATO... By the way, the Prime Minister of Denmark came out and this was yesterday, either yesterday or the day before, don't quote me, either 24 or 48 hours. And she said enough is enough. She told Biden, give Zelensky all the cruise missiles he needs. We're going to turn Russia into rubble. You think the Russians are going to allow themselves to be turned into rubble? Have you all gone mad? We spent 45 years in a Cold War in which we had one prevailing principle. If you remember, it didn't matter. Democrat, Republican, I don't care. Harry Truman, Eisenhower, JFK, LBJ, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, it didn't matter. No hot war with Russia. No military confrontation with Russia. Why? Because we have nuclear weapons, they have nuclear weapons. And once you go down the road of a conventional war, it could spiral into a nuclear war, mushroom clouds. And these idiots now, over what? The Donbass? The Donbass? They're going to risk humanity for the Donbass? So this is the biggest story in the world. And the media doesn't want to cover it. Most people don't even know it's happening. That's how ignorant they are. And I'm telling you, if they did, Trump would win in a massive landslide. They'd have to manufacture 100 million votes. Like, I'm telling you. He would sweep the youth vote. He would sweep the female vote. He would sweep the black vote. He would sweep every vote. Every voting bloc. Who the hell wants to vote for nuclear war? Harris has surrounded herself with the likes of Hillary Clinton, with the Mitt Romneys, with the Dick Cheneys, who are reckless, neoconservative, neoliberal warmongers. John Bolton now, that SOB, that traitor, has now endorsed Kamala Harris. They want war with Russia. And they don't care the consequences be damned. So this is what I told Grace last night. You know, Grace says, I really feel bad for you. God forbid if Kamala should win. Because of your parents, your grandparents. She said this because of the background of communism in your life. And that you're going to now to see this rear its ugly head here in the United States. She goes, I'm worried about you, like psychologically, emotionally, can you take it? This is my response. I said, sweetheart, I swear to you, I'll be fine. I mean, I won't be happy. I'll survive. You'll survive. But I don't know if the planet can survive. You get Kamala Harris. I'm telling you, as sure as the sun rises, you're going to get World War III with Russia. And that's why Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard and Elon Musk, to their eternal credit, I have a lot of disagreements with them. It doesn't matter at this point. They openly said, on the Ukraine issue alone, i.e. World War III, you have to vote for Trump. That's it. Really. Forget everything else. That's it. That's it. So, and it goes back now to why I believe the FBI and the deep state and the CIA are trying to get Trump assassinated. Because he's the man now that stands in their way for their insane ambitions to start a nuclear war, World War III with Russia. 749 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the ultimate load. The liberal bull, 617-266-6868. Lines are blazing. Sue in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Sue, and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure, Sue.
I just want to say I think that this man is completely being persecuted unjustly. I can only speak my own experience, but I used to live in New York City, and I was a young, my mid-young 20s. And when I was working at a restaurant, they had said, hey, we're looking for volunteers for a charity. And I said, oh, sure. And it was for children. Well, it turned out to be at FAO Schwartz. And at the time, President Trump, he was the Donald at the time, but he owned FAO Schwartz. And it was a nice charity for children. And I had dressed up as Madeline, and it was just a few celebrities were there, but it was very low key. It was truly there just to raise money for a child's charity. And it was lovely. And the second thing was, I don't know if you ever heard the story, but when he first ran for president, there was a story running about how somebody was broken down on the road, and he had pulled over in his limo, and he really did help them. Well, I actually remember that story from like 1999. My boyfriend at the time was, at one point, he was VP of the electrical union. And he said, he told me that story. That was a true story. He actually pulled over. I was told this in 99. He pulled over in his limo, and he helped this guy out. And I'm pretty sure, from what I remember, he actually made a huge payment on the guy's house or something. I mean, it was just, I was always impressed after I heard that story about him. So I just think that this is completely unjust, and they've painted a picture of a monster of a man. And this man is a wonderful father. His children love him completely. He's done nothing but good things. I don't think he has any they have nothing on him. So all they can do is create a fictional character to get people to hate him. But he's actually, I listened to his speech last night. He was in Pennsylvania. And it was one of the best speeches I've ever heard, not only he say, but any president ever say. And he was spot on about all the issues that this country is going through right now. And what we are about to go through with our, losing the reserve currency and the crime and all these people that are, the illegals. He's not against immigration. His wife is from another country. But the illegal population, they're going to take us down with all the money that they're being given. And it's just, in the meantime, I have to tell you that I actually personally know women in their 50s who are being kicked out of their apartments, one in particular in Chicago, no place to go because the landlords are going to be paid more money to take these people in. And this is a real thing. If he does not get into office, I am terrified of the future. I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a video a couple of years ago, I think it was Vice or something, had a documentary on the white slums of Africa and what happened to those people. I highly suggest everybody take a look at that, because I really feel that that's what Biden wants to do right now, or Kamala. And that's just terrifying. And we also need peace. And he said last night, I am the president of peace. And I'm pretty skeptical. I've been a so-called conspiracy theorist, or what we like to say is just looking at the truth, for years. And I truly believe that this is the man that's going to take us out of what the UN, which they're having their summit right now in New York, or they just had it. They want what's called a pact of the future. Okay, that is nothing but a globalist, elitist, communist group, and we need to get out of the UN. We need to kick them into the Hudson River and tell them to go away, because that's the worst thing that ever happened to this world. And I think he will do that too. He's got nothing but the best interest of this country.
Well, he's a patriot. He really is, and that's why they can't control him. That's why they fear him. That's why they hate him. And look, Sue, this, I guess, in the end, maybe the thing that I think scares me the most, and you may disagree, obviously, but I'm just giving you my honest opinion, is, look, everybody knows. Here, he was in Pennsylvania yesterday, and he spoke to a mother with three children struggling to pay her grocery bills, and he just gave her $100. He said, look, I can't, he goes, look, more help is coming. When I get elected, I promise you're not going to struggle to pay your grocery bills. I can't hear this, that you're having a hard time buying food for your children. And he just gave her $100 right on the spot. Like, he's done this so often to so many people over so many years. But to me, the most frightening thing is, and I've seen it done to me. The New York Times has done a front page profile. This was years ago. They did a front page profile piece. I'm like, I don't recognize who I am. I don't recognize myself in this piece. When the Boston Globe attacks me, when the Boston Herald attacks me, I'm like, I don't recognize myself. I don't. I don't know who this person is. They say it's Jeff Kuhner, but it's not me. And this is the frightening thing. They have turned this man. I mean, he's not perfect. He's the first one to tell you he has flaws like everybody else. He's born with original sin like everybody else. We all do things in life we wish we could do over. But fundamentally, as you put it, loved by his children, loved by his family, loved by his employees, loved by his supporters, loved by the voters, has done nothing but good for the most part in his life. And they're turning this guy into the second coming of Adolf Hitler, who killed 50 million people and sent 6 million Jews to the gas ovens. And people believe this. That's the power of propaganda, the power of the media, the power of the deep state to manipulate people's emotions and thoughts. That, to me, is what's really scary. Because you look around, you say, he's fundamentally a good, decent man who loves his country. And you've got now, what is it? I don't know how many people, but whatever, almost half the country, like pulling their hair out. Kill him. Sue, I'm not kidding. You have people that would rather have a nuclear war under Kamala than have this guy in office. And I'm saying, well, what's worse than a nuclear war? Like, are you all insane? But that's the collective psychosis. That's the manipulation, the indoctrination, the constant brainwashing over and over and over and over. I've never seen anything like this. I really haven't. So, to me, that they can do that, if they can do that to him, they can do that to anybody. I mean, really, they can do it to you, they can do it to me, they can do it to anybody. So, that's what we have to dismantle. It's this propaganda apparatus. It's an out of control shadow government. It's a deep state. It's a ruling class. It's a swamp. It's a cabal. It's a cartel, whatever you want to call it. But this has got to be smashed. Because I'm telling you, they're not taking us to a good place. That we know for sure. Sue, thank you very, very much for that call. 617. I don't know if you agree or disagree. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. 617-266-6868 is the number. And let me just bring it back to the FBI for a second. I mean, that's what they do. They release a manifesto of this would-be assassin in which he's urging people finish the job. And he openly says, I'll pay you $150,000 bounty if you do it. And they release this to the media and to the public and to the world. And they're being applauded by Democrats and the left. I mean, they're practically salivating for somebody to assassinate Trump. And think about it, just objectively. Whether you like Trump, don't like Trump, okay, his tweets really annoyed you. I don't like his personality. Jeff, he's coarse, he's vulgar, I don't like the way he carries himself, he's unpresidential, whatever the left calls, he's a bully, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. The 4 years under Trump, I mean, really, they're acting like it was, I don't know, Pol Pot or Stalin. $2 a gallon gas? Low inflation? A booming economy? Everybody's wages going up? I really, one of the greatest periods of prosperity in American history, a secure border, no immigrants, no illegals pouring in, no war in Russia and Ukraine, no war in the Middle East, no war anywhere. I mean, really, they act like I don't know what. Like, oh, those 4 years, oh, we just can't go back. I'm like, go back to what? What is it you object to? Living better, being freer, being safer? You. They're insane. I'm telling you, liberalism is a mental disorder. They're insane. Angelo in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Angelo, and welcome.
Yeah, this is really something what's going on. But I think if you take a step back, the RNC, if they do say anything, they should step up to the plate now and really get the lead out here. Enough's enough. I mean, basically, they're calling for what we don't want to happen. But as far as the undecided voters and stuff, I think they're starting to see what's really going on here. But even more than that, the undecided and the people who support the active administration that's in now, what has to happen is they have to look back. Like you said, there weren't any wars and everything. They want to be peaceful, gentler, kinder. But yet our administration is sending long-range missiles to wipe out people. And look at all the people who died under this administration. Like you said, take a look at that. Those aren't made-up facts. That isn't propaganda. That's true facts. People walking out of their house to get milk for their kids are getting sniped. I mean, you want things to turn around. Well, I think you better get Trump in, or we're all in a bad boat. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I agree. Angelo, I agree. Look, I'm going to probably talk about it tomorrow because this FBI story and releasing the Ryan Ruth's, manifesto is such a huge story. But we're sending now more troops to the Middle East. The Pentagon announced it yesterday. Because literally Israel and Hezbollah are basically now on the brink of all-out war. Punishing airstrikes by the Israelis, targeting Hezbollah all across Beirut, all across Lebanon. We're looking at, what is it now, 500-600 dead, thousands wounded. This is just in the last 24 hours alone. Hezbollah now is starting to rain rockets on northern Israel. I mean, they're really starting to hammer each other. It has gotten so bad, the U.S. Embassy in Beirut has now told all U.S. citizens, get out of Lebanon now while you still can. So basically, we're on the verge now of a major second war in the Middle East. Pentagon now has sent in additional troops. They won't tell us how many, but our troops are being deployed. They've now sent another aircraft carrier on top of the USS Abraham Lincoln that's already there. We have 40,000 U.S. troops already in the region. Already we've got 40,000 and more are going in. So, and by the way, this is from the idiot Kamala Harris, who said, we have no troops in any active wars. Another lie. Another lie. So we're sending more troops on top of the 40,000 that we have there, on top of our aircraft carrier strike groups. So we're basically on the verge of an all-out war in the Middle East. This is what you get under Biden-Harris, and you're going to get more of it. And so I'm like, and you're not going to vote for Trump? Like, are you crazy? The Muslims in Dearborn are voting for Trump. The Arab Americans in Dearborn now want to vote for Trump. Why? They go, there was peace under Trump. With these two idiots, they're going to get everybody killed. So you're dead on, Angelo, 1,000%. Angelo, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. No, look, to me, this election has never been a bigger no-brainer in my life. No, what I find shocking is how brazen now the FBI and the DOJ have become under Biden and Harris. Here you have, a would-be assassin, and you release his manifesto? Like, holy shamoly. I mean, if I'm the Republicans, the obvious question, it's such an obvious question, it's like it says itself. So every other time we've had an assassination attempt, a school shooting, you never release the manifesto, ever. Why'd you do it now? Why now? And why did you include the bounty? You released the whole damn thing where he's urging somebody to kill him. So I want to ask all of you, in all seriousness, does the FBI want to get Trump killed? Is that now what it's come down to? And let me ask a follow-up obvious question. Back to Elon Musk. Are they now appealing to some loser who watches television, who has no meaning in his life, no purpose in his life, and is sitting there and digesting, absorbing this daily diet of anti-Trump hate? He's a threat to democracy. He's a threat to humanity. And they'll say, you know what? I can be a hero. I can go down in history as one of the greatest heroes ever. All I've got to do is finish what Thomas Crooks and Ryan Ruth started. And Elon Musk is saying this is all deliberate because they want Trump dead. Do you agree with Elon Musk? Was the FBI grossly irresponsible in releasing that letter? 617-266-6868. And more importantly, if you're Trump, what do you do? What do you do? If you were advising him, what would you tell him to do? If anything. 617-266-6868. Jack in Indiana. Thanks for holding, Jack, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. Thanks for giving me a voice.
My pleasure, Jack.
I've got 4 points I want to run through and then get your thoughts on it. Okay, in my opinion, these are all in my opinion, the FBI is complacent in a conspiracy to commit murder, and whatever happened to the FBI doesn't comment on an ongoing investigation. 3, where's the money and who has the money? Maybe this guy gave the money to somebody else to hold because he knew he was going to get caught. And who is they that he said he let them? And I'm thinking Iran. And my last point is, found out yesterday, Indiana is sending 600 military to the Middle East. And I just want your opinion on that.
Well, there's going to be more than 600. Look, Indiana, Jack, it's not just going to be Indiana. It's going to be every state in the union. They're calling up many, many more troops. And and Jack, look, again, this is what I find, again, disturbing. They don't want to tell us how many troops. I mean, you know me, I'm not a big fan of the media. I think they're horrible. But at least they asked the question yesterday at the Pentagon. They asked it of Kirby and they asked it of Major General Pat Ridley. And they said, well, you're just announcing this big deployment of troops. We've already got 40,000 in the region. So what are we looking at? Another 10,000, 20,000, 25, 30? How many? They go, we're not going to release that information right now. Why? Because it'll compromise operational capabilities. See, always behind the veil of secrecy. That's their answer to everything. Well, I'm sorry. You're sending our men and women, affectionately, our boys and girls, to a potential war in the Middle East. We have the right to know who's being deployed, how many are being deployed, and what's the mission. Like, I'm sorry, you answer to us. We don't answer to you. There are boys, there are girls, there are men and women that you're sending off potentially to a war. So they're even covering up how many they're sending. They do, but they're sending them. And the big one, honestly, is that aircraft carrier strike group. That's a lot of money. Half of our Navy now is in the Middle East. Half. So something there is brewing, and it's brewing big. And I agree with you. Look, I don't know if it's the FBI. I don't know if it's the CIA. Maybe it's them working together. You're talking about the Iran angle. I think it's very possible, Jack. Really possible. What we do know is this, thanks to Matt Gaetz. There was a whistleblower at the Department of Homeland Security, at DHS, who came out and said that because of Biden and Harris's open borders policy, assassination groups, terrorists, have been allowed into this country. Their job is to assassinate Trump. One is tied to Iran. Another one is tied to Ukraine. I thought Ukraine was our ally. We just, what is it, $250 billion, Jack, we've just sent to Ukraine over the last couple of years, and they want to kill one of our presidential candidates? So anyway, there are 5 assassination units hunting for Trump. 3 are foreigners. One is tied to Iran, another one is tied to Ukraine. I don't know what the third one is. So they're hunting, they're tracking Trump, they want to get him. And Biden and Harris let him in. And now they've released the Orion Roots manifesto letter. They can't make it more clear. They want Trump dead. 8:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Let's go to Jerry on the Cape. Thanks for holding, Jerry, and welcome.
Jeff, a pleasure as always.
How are you, my friend?
Great. Jeff, Ryan Wesley Ruth, I believe, is a CIA cutout. All of the things point to that. But beyond that, I think they're pushing for violence here one way or the other, and I think they're weighing all their options, the deep state is. I think what they're going to try to do, Jeff, do you notice how they keep talking about the 325 people on the terrorist watch list that they know that are in this country?
Yes.
I think what they're going to try to do is to what they call delay the election. I think there's going to be, I hope I'm wrong, I think there's going to be an event in the country so that they can say, martial law, there's not going to be any election. We're going to delay it until we can, between the war in the Middle East, the stuff in Ukraine, and now something happening within the country. I think what they're going to try to do is put a delay on it. But, Jeff, you hit on something really strong. I read the same article I think you read in Western Journal the other day about Putin. He said that he would hit the United States, Canada, and Great Britain if they escalate this. If Biden gives the okay to Zelensky to have all of these long-range missiles, he said he's going to have no choice but to hit the United States, Great Britain, and Canada. Because Justin Trudeau's pushing really, really hard for this, really hard. And it's really aggravating Putin, I think. But, Jeff, too, did you see the interview with Zelensky about 6 weeks ago? He stated unequivocally that the United States has committed a 10-year agreement to him for $100 billion a year.
Yeah, no, Jerry, it's amazing now what's starting to come out. You're completely right. Zelensky now says we've committed $1 trillion. So this is going to be a never-ending war. Another decade, $1 trillion of our money, $1 trillion, unlimited cruise missiles, unlimited weaponry, and they want to turn Russia into rubble. And Putin is saying, you turn Russia into rubble, I'm going to turn you into rubble. So what's happening now is, in front of our eyes, we're now seeing this war being transformed from a Russia-Ukraine war with NATO, having Ukraine act as its proxy, to now becoming a Russia-NATO war. And you're right, Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, he essentially declared war on Russia. It was unbelievable. It was literally unbelievable. And that's why you're right. Putin said, hey, look, you declare war on me. I'll tell you, we're going to hit Canada and the United States and Great Britain. We're going to take this war all over the world if we have to. So I'm looking at all this and I'm like, so there's no exit strategy. There's absolutely no exit strategy for this war. It's just escalate, escalate, escalate until we get to World War III. It's madness. Jerry, it's absolute madness. And to me, it's the most compelling argument for Trump. There's so many compelling arguments. But to me, the most compelling of all of them is you want to stop World War III? Vote Trump. It's that simple. Jerry, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. Speaking of that little, that Ukrainian crook, I've got a big story on him. Trust me, at 8:30, you don't want to miss it. 617-266-6868. But first, I want to take more of your calls. David in Boston. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I'd like to thank Sandy for taking my call.
Go ahead, David. The floor is yours.
I've been trying to get this call through for the longest time, but about a week or two ago, I called you, Jeff, and if you recall, I asked you if I say Volodymyr the Ukrainian, who comes to mind, and I mentioned that there's two Volodymyrs. Yeah. Volodymyr Zelensky, of course, who's here, but Volodymyr Zhukovsky, and I've been trying to get in touch with Manny Ribeiro, and I found out they have a website, the Jarheads, and I'm hoping to make contact with them. But you didn't hear from me for about a year because I wasn't able to get this call through. But anyways, Jeff, what the deal is this deep state put the fix in on the trial of Volodymyr Zhukovsky up there, the motorcycle accident up in Randolph, New Hampshire. I used to hang out up there, all up around Tuckerman's Ravine. I used to hike the Presidential Range, and so on and so forth. I even hiked Mount Moriah across from Mount Washington.
No, David, look, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not interested in your hiking history, which mountains you've hiked. And, David, I mean, I guess you have nothing to say on the FBI releasing the shooter, the would-be assassin's letter, his manifesto, or that Zelensky now has come on American soil in a battleground state like Pennsylvania and is now calling for Americans to vote for Kamala Harris. It is pure, direct election interference. I've got that story. Your calls next. 8:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, get ready for this. So, after we have sent Ukraine over $250 billion, our taxpayer money, Ukrainian strongman Zelensky, and he is now a strongman, he has surpassed his time in office. His Democratic mandate is over. He's still in office, even though he has not held elections and refuses to hold elections. This crook, this thug, this ingrate was in Pennsylvania on Sunday. He apparently was flown to this key battleground state by the Biden-Harris regime, in particular by Kamala Harris, on our dime, on a C-17 transport plane, a military plane. So he is flown into Pennsylvania, paid for by you and me, at the express behest of the Kamala campaign and the Biden regime. He allegedly was there, ostensibly, he was there to tour U.S. ammunition plants in Scranton and other places where he's walking around and they're showing him the shells that they're manufacturing to kill as many Russians as possible, all the ammunition, and he's going around, thank you very much, thank you, and basically, I make more money. You make more bombs, I make more money. And there he is, doing a shtick. Now, according to him, he then decided to speak to reporters, and he did the unforgivable. On American soil, in a pivotal swing state, in the middle of an election, he then began to bash Trump and J.D. Vance. According to multiple media outlets, he gave them these interviews. So I'm just going by what they said he said. He apparently then bashed Trump, saying he has no plan to end the war on the first day of office. He cannot end the war. He will not end the war. He then turned around and said that J.D. Vance is quote unquote dangerous and too radical. He all but effectively endorsed Kamala Harris, claiming that Harris has Ukraine's back, implying that Trump and Vance don't. And that in the interests of world peace, in the interests of democracy, Ukraine must win the war against Russia, no matter what the price, no matter what the cost. And essentially told the people of Pennsylvania and the people of the United States that they should vote against one presidential ticket, Trump, Vance, in favor of another presidential ticket, and vote for Kamala Waltz. Now, as I pointed out on X, direct foreign election interference. But it's even worse than that, because it's on our dime. We paid for it. We're paying for it. We paid for this. Who the hell does this guy think he is? This ingrate, this crook, comes to our country, on our soil, in Pennsylvania, and tells us who we should vote for after everything we have done for Ukraine? As I said on X, and I want to repeat it, no more money for Ukraine. After this, I'm sorry, this is it is a blatant, flagrant betrayal. And it's unprecedented, absolutely unprecedented. Never in the history of the United States, ever, has a presidential ticket, as a presidential candidate, flown in a foreign leader, not even on her dime, on our dime, and then bring him to American soil to directly intervene and interfere in an election. Now, what this shows to me, without question, is that Zelensky's a crook. He wants the gravy train to continue. He wants the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. In fact, he wants $1 trillion from U.S. taxpayers over 10 years. $1 trillion. $100 billion a year. I mean, this guy, you want to talk about chutzpah. This guy, this grifter, this con man. What's the matter? You haven't made enough money so far? And this is the thanks that we get from this guy? Now, my advice to Donald Trump, very simple. You call up Zelensky and you tell him, you know what? We were going to do a negotiated peace deal. We were going to do a negotiated settlement. And Ukraine was going to have peace with honor. Trump kept saying this over and over again. I will end the war. I will end the killing. I will end the dying. I will end the shelling. I will end the bombing. I will end it all. And Ukraine will emerge with peace with honor. If I'm Trump now, I'm like, who the hell do you think you are, man? You're taking our money. We're propping you up. Without us, the Russians would have wiped you off the face of the earth. And this is how you pay us back? What, you think now that you can meddle in our elections? And by the way, where is the media? How come they're not going on about Ukraine collusion? This is naked collusion, on the record collusion. If I'm Trump, here's what I tell Zelensky. You better hope I don't win. Because on day one, I'm pulling the financial plug. You're not going to get a cent. You're not going to get a dime. Do you understand? Zero. Nothing. And when it comes now to the peace negotiations and the peace deal, you're lucky that you're going to get whatever I give you. I used to be a supporter of Ukraine. I once believed in Ukraine as a country and as a nation. But I'm telling you, after what this guy just did, interfering in our election, doing everything he can to now tilt it in favor of Kamala, I'm sorry, man. I'm done. I'm done with them. I am done with these Ukrainians. This is how you pay us back? This is how you pay back our generosity? As far as I'm concerned now, you're on your own, man. You are on your own. And I'll tell you this, you never, ever, ever would allow a foreign leader to come into Ukraine and have him flown in by one of the leading presidential candidates and have them directly meddle and interfere in your internal politics and in your internal presidential elections. You never would allow that. But you dare do it to us after everything we've done for you? If I'm Trump, it's made my life a hell of a lot easier. From this point forward, we're going to get a peace deal. We're going to end this war because you're going to have no money to fight it anymore. And Ukraine, you get what we give you. That's it. Full stop. That's it. There's going to be no more peace with honor. You stab us in the back? Fine. That's okay. That's okay. We're not going to be your backer at these peace negotiations. You sign what we put in front of you. I am done with Zelensky and with propping up this corrupt, vile Ukrainian regime. So let me ask all of you, what do you make now of this unprecedented decision by Kamala Harris to fly in Zelensky, a foreign leader, in Pennsylvania, the most important swing state maybe arguably in the country, and have him come out and endorse Kamala and trash and attack Trump and J.D. Vance? Is this direct election, foreign election interference? I say yes. And is it time now to cut off all money, all funding to Ukraine? Are you done with Ukraine? Did they just stab us in the back? All of your calls next. 8:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Holy shamoly. The outrage is really building on, at least on the text line. Holy mackerel, is Kuhner Country upset? And frankly, I don't blame you. You can text us 70470, 617-266-6868 if you want to be part of the show. My sister out in Tucson, Arizona, just texted me this a few minutes ago. Outrageous, Jeff. Notice how Israeli leaders never behave like this because they appreciate what the United States does for them and for Israel, regardless of who's president and regardless of which party is in power. You're completely right, Jen. You're absolutely right. I've never seen this, ever. I've never, ever seen, and I believe in the history of the United States, this is utterly unprecedented. This is from 917. Jeff, where is Speaker Mike Johnson on any of this regarding Zelensky's visit? Well, Johnson should run to a microphone and say, you know what, tough guy, you want to interfere in our internal elections? No more money for you. No more. We're going to pull the plug. Not another red cent to Ukraine. Bye-bye. Ask the Europeans. Go beg the Germans for some money. So, you want to play kingmaker in America? That's fine. Now you're not getting our cash. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. One more. This is from 508. Jeff, yesterday's front page of the Cape Cod Times had a story about tourists and loved ones driving over bridges that were built between 1933 and 1935 and are deemed obsolete. We can't get Maura Healey and Congressman Keating and frauds like Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey to get us $2 billion to take care of the bridges on Cape Cod. Yet we're sending billions upon billions to corrupt oligarchs in Ukraine? And now this guy meddles in our internal affairs and tells us who we should vote for? Outrageous. You're telling me. You're telling me. So, you see, we don't have money to secure the border. We don't have money to properly fund the police. We don't have money for roads. We don't have money for bridges. We don't have money for homeless veterans. Literally, homeless veterans are sleeping on the streets. But we've got $250 billion for the Ukrainians. Okay, for this corrupt, this shyster, this corrupt gangster, Zelensky. And he wants another $1 trillion over 10 years for his so-called plan for victory, which is going to get us all killed, by the way. Nah, you know what? I'm good. No. You know what? J.D. Vance is too dangerous and too radical. Trump is too dangerous and too radical. You're too dangerous and too radical. No more money for you. How do you like that? No more money for you. You piece of you-know-what. I'm sorry, but that's what he is. You ingrate, you. Okay, it is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day. Sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Who do you think wants to see Trump defeated more? A, Democrats. B, Zelensky. This is a tough one. Who do you think wants Trump defeated more? A, Democrats. B, Zelensky. You can vote on our webpage, WRKO.com/Kuhner, Kuhn is a national ER, WRKO.com/Kuhner, or I'm super active on X. You can vote on my X handle, on my X account. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, KUHN is a national ER. Kenny in Winthrop. Thanks for holding, Kenny, and welcome.
Let me talk for a minute. Don't cut me off. I'm not going to say anything wacky. The first thing I'm going to say is no more money for Ukraine. You're giving all this money to Ukraine. I'm not blaming the Ukrainian people. You got Zelensky with all that money, and he doesn't even have enough respect to buy a suit. He walks around with that Star Trek uniform on. And another thing, my black brothers and sisters, Obama wasn't the best black president because, let me tell you, we'll look at it this way. How many colors are in the biggest box of crayons? Obama hates every color. He only likes one color, green. green. He only cares about himself. He never did nothing for yous. He never did nothing for us. He was a fraud.
Kenny dropped the mic. And all this began under Obama. This invasion of Ukraine began under Obama's watch. Trump was the one that stopped it. Under Trump, Putin didn't touch an inch of Ukrainian territory. He armed Ukraine to the teeth. He gave them Javelin missiles. Obama was sending them sleeping bags and tents when the Russians annexed Crimea and gobbled up Luhansk and Donetsk. And Trump sent them Javelin anti-tank missiles. He armed them to the teeth. And this is the freaking thanks he gets? Because he wants to end the war? By the way, 1 million Ukrainian lives now. 1 million Ukrainian lives lost or maimed. That was the official figure just a couple days ago. The Ukrainian people are exhausted. Their military is now breaking apart. The Ukrainian people want peace. They don't want this war to go on anymore. They've had it. They've hit their breaking point. The Russians don't want this war to go on. They want a peace deal. But I'll tell you who doesn't want a peace deal. The corrupt military-industrial complex, the warmongers. And it was disgusting because I don't know if any of you saw the video. You've got Governor Josh Shapiro, that Democrat hack, literally autographing artillery shells as they're being made at that plant in Scranton and bragging, this is going to kill a lot of Russians. These people are sick. Literally, they're sick. So we know what it's about. It's about the money. And Zelensky and his people are drowning in money. War is good for politicians. It's good for the arms manufacturers. They make big profits off of it. But most people, the ordinary people, they're the ones who suffer. They do the fighting, the bleeding, the dying. And Trump is like, we got to end this before this gets us all killed. We got to end this. And this ingrate turns around and says, no, don't vote for Trump. Don't vote for Vance. You got to vote for Kamala. Okay? You're that stupid? Okay. Bye-bye. No more money for you. Let's see how long that war lasts now. 617-266-6868. I'm done with him. I'm done with him and his corrupt, sick, dictatorial regime. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Bill in Sudbury. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Jeff. I can't believe anybody is really surprised at his position yesterday. I felt like I didn't love that he went to the plant where they're making the stuff, but nothing he said there was a particular surprise to me.
Well, I mean, I don't know what goes on in your mind. Bill, I don't know what goes on in your mind. So what's a surprise? What's not a surprise? Let me ask you a very obvious question. Name me one other time in American history, and you can take it all the way back to 1776, where a presidential candidate invited a foreign leader to come in the middle of an election and to directly meddle in an election campaign on the U.S. taxpayers' dime. Name me one. Just one. One. Just one.
Winston Churchill, Bibi Netanyahu.
Whoa. Who did Winston Churchill ever endorse in a presidential campaign?
Address the joint sessions of Congress.
No. Stop with the tape. Stop with the tape. You said Churchill. I'm an historian. I know World War II like the back of my hand. Churchill never, ever said to vote for Roosevelt. Ever. He didn't say it in 1940. He didn't say it in 1944. Show me where Winston Churchill said, vote for FDR. Don't vote for Wendell Willkie or don't vote for Thomas Dewey. Show me where he said that.
Endorsed Kamala.
Stop.
You didn't say
Stop.
that.
Stop.
Come on.
Stop. 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 Listen, I'm tired of your bullcrap. I really am. Okay? You want to lie? Call somebody else's show. You said Winston Churchill did it. When did Winston Churchill do it? When?
He addressed both joint sessions of Congress.
Okay, so what?
Well, you said it was unprecedented, but just because it's unprecedented, everything.
Listen to me. 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 I'm not going to get upset. Really, honestly, you have a mental problem. Of course, foreign leaders have come to our country. You imbecile. You idiot. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about endorsing a presidential ticket and attacking and vilifying another presidential ticket in the middle of an election. When has that ever happened? This guy, well, he addressed the joint session of Congress. Oh, my God. Yes, hundreds of leaders have done that. But they didn't come in. No one ever said, vote for Carter, don't vote for Reagan. Vote for Reagan, don't vote for Mondale. Vote for Clinton, don't vote for Bush. Like, what are you talking about? When did Benjamin Netanyahu ever say, vote? Did he say in 2020, vote for Trump, don't vote for Biden? No. Did he say vote for Trump, don't vote for Hillary? No. Every foreign leader stays neutral out of respect for the sovereignty of the United States. That's why what he did was so unprecedented. And by the way, genius, to show you how stupid you are, everybody in the media is saying it was unprecedented. So I don't know what you're talking about. So my question to you, why does Zelensky feel he has any right to tell us how we should vote in the middle of an election, in the middle of a swing state, right now, as Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have about 40 days left to go? What gives him the right to meddle in our internal affairs? Can you give me an answer to that? He's taking our money. We're not taking his money. So who the hell is he to tell us who we should vote for? Could you explain that to me, Bill?
The guy is selling a fantasy, Jeff. He's introducing a little reality, saying that there is no one phone call solution that you guys somehow believe. Okay, that's a fantasy that your guy sells. And by the way, your guy also has his excuse set up 10 miles ahead of time. The second week of his second term.
Okay. Forget that. Bill, listen, I'm not interested in your garbage. Really. Seriously, man. Okay. So he doesn't like Trump's peace plan. Fine. He won't get it. I've never seen this before. So you don't want the peace plan? Okay. We're not going to give it to you. Like, he's an idiot. But again, what gives him the right? You haven't answered the question. What gives him? You see, Republicans, I pay taxes. I pay a hell of a lot more than you do. So my money has gone to Ukraine, which, by the way, Zelensky has stolen to the tune of billions of dollars. But you won't address that. Much of it is not going on the ground to the soldiers who need it. That's why they're lacking weapons, because the money's been stolen by Zelensky and his cronies. But let that go. What gives Zelensky the right to meddle and interfere in our presidential election? You won't answer the question. Who is he to say that J.D. Vance is too dangerous and too radical? Can you imagine if Bibi Netanyahu came and said Kamala Harris is too dangerous and too radical? Moonbats like you would be losing your flipping minds. Or if the president of Poland came and said she's too radical and too dangerous, you guys would be losing your minds. So now you're telling me it's okay? By the way, why am I paying for Zelensky to be flown to U.S. ammunition plants? Why are U.S. taxpayers flying this crook? A foreign leader on our dime, and then he's going around pronouncing on our elections? Unprecedented, disgraceful, obscene, frankly. But there you are. The only one that calls is you. The only one that always defends the indefensible is you. And you still haven't answered my question. So tell me, what gives Zelensky the right to By the way, he would never accept us meddling in his elections. whenever he wants to hold one. Can you imagine if Donald Trump went to Ukraine in the middle of a Ukrainian election and said, vote for the other guy? This guy's too dangerous and too radical? They'd run him out of the country in Ukraine. So let me ask you, why is it okay for him to do that to us? Can you explain that to me, Bill?
Saying that the minute that Trump gets a second term, the money's cut off. Can you know how can you be surprised that he's in favor of please keep us alive, keep us going? And here's the thing you make when you discuss the price of the Ukraine war. You do a sly little trick where you compare it to zero. You never ever compare it to how much we were prepared to spend to thwart Russia. Because if you compared it to how much we were prepared to spend, it looks like a fabulous deal. But you compare it to zero, so it looks like a huge amount of money.
Prepared to spend against, I have no idea what you are talking about. Honestly, I have none. But I guess what, $1 trillion? You want another $1 trillion to go to Ukraine? Another $1 trillion? You want another what? Another million dead? Another 2 million dead? Another 3 million dead? Tough guy, you want to fight to the last Ukrainian? By the way, Trump never said he was going to cut off their aid. That's another lie being pushed by you and Kamala Harris. He never said that. He said, both sides are close to a deal. I will get a negotiated peace settlement. The Ukrainian people want Trump to win. They want peace. They don't want this war to continue. We're heading towards World War III. The only people that are calling for World War III are idiotic warmongers, lunatics like you and Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton. He has no business interfering in our election. None. And I'm telling you, this is going to cost him dearly. And it should cost him dearly. Now, I'm telling Trump, not a dime. Not a dime. This is how you pay us back. But you see, Bill, you've just exposed yourself again. And that's why I'm happy that you called. You're a traitor. I'm going to tell you to your face. You're a traitor. You are willing now to pay for foreign leaders to meddle in pivotal swing states to tilt the election against Donald Trump. You are openly inviting and embracing foreign election interference. So you rail against when the Russians do it, but when the Ukrainians do it, it's okay. Is that it now, Bill? So if they do it for your side, it's okay, right, Bill? Is that now the new standard?
Everybody in the Ukraine is corrupt. Everybody in the Democrats is corrupt. Everybody in the Department of Defense is corrupt. Everybody everywhere is corrupt except for that one guy. Oh, he's going to lead us.
Well, that one guy lost $1 billion while he was president. Okay? Your people make billions of dollars, politicians, while they're in office. So open your eyes. And yes, Ukraine is one of the most corrupt countries in the world. That's an official statistic. But you see, that would require reading a newspaper. And that's something you just don't do. So what you do is, and this is what's really frightening, like the mind of a fanatic, you wait for Kamala Harris to say something, and then you call this show. And I don't know what you think you're proving, really, except, honestly, that you're nothing but a parrot. That's all you are. You're a brainwashed zombie. And I'm telling you, it's people like you that are going to get us killed. Because Kamala Harris wants to expand the war into Russia. Kamala Harris wants long-range cruise missiles to rain on Moscow and St. Petersburg and cities all across Russia. And Putin has said, whether you like it or not, that means World War III. And you couldn't find Ukraine on a map. You couldn't find the Donbass on a map. You can't find Donetsk and Luhansk on a map. You don't even know what they're fighting over. But you're so stupid that you'll blindly follow the Democratic Party to nuclear Armageddon. So, Bill, take a look in the mirror, man. You want to know what the problem in this country is? It's people like you. Have a nice day, Bill. Tom in Framingham. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. I got a few quick things to say. One, what the FBI is doing right now is, at first I thought they were just trying to Oswald this guy, but I agree with you. I think this is a clarion call to get him killed, to get Trump killed. And I think it's part of it's very consistent with the Great Reset, or this resetting where the government does these things. People realize it's going on. They lie about it, but people realize it's going on, but there's nothing they can do about it. So the FBI is giving a big FU to everyone by doing this. Now, as far as Ukraine, I don't know if you're aware of this Ukrainian Defense Fund. It was part of the appropriation. The first appropriation, it was $1.6 billion.
Tom, can you do me a favor? You're about to give very important, vital information that I want the audience to hear. Please hang on. I'm going to come right back to you after this break. A lot more to discuss. Don't touch that dial. 920 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, huge story. Zelensky now campaigning on our soil for Kamala Harris. Incredibly, the Ukrainian strongman has been flown in by Kamala Harris into the United States. He'll be speaking at the UN later today, but he was flown around along with Pennsylvania's Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro, where they went to U.S. ammunition plants. And, I mean, you want to talk about sick. They were autographing artillery shells and bragging how this was going to kill Russian civilians and Russians in the war between Ukraine and Russia. Flown in on our dime. We paid for it. Official military transport, C-17 transport plane. And that's when he began to bash Trump, bash J.D. Vance, saying that the presidential ticket is too dangerous, too radical, that the American people must not take a chance on Trump or J.D., essentially endorsing Kamala Harris. Never in American history has a foreign leader come into the United States in the middle of a campaign, in the middle of an actually pivotal swing state, and endorsed one presidential ticket over another. Utterly unprecedented. Now, that leads me to believe that the CIA is in complete panic. They fear Trump is going to win. And the military-industrial complex, which is backing Kamala and Waltz all the way, the warmongers, the weapons manufacturers, the oligarchs, want this war in Ukraine to continue. My question to you, is it time now to cut off all funding to Ukraine? And has Zelensky now just stabbed America and the American taxpayer in the back? I say it is the mother of all betrayals, but that's me. I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868. Should we now cut off all aid to Ukraine? Let's go right back to Tom in Framingham. Tom, you were saying that they set up this Ukraine Defense Fund, and at the beginning it was $1 billion or $1.5 billion, and then we had to go to break. Please pick up where you left off.
Yeah, it was for the first appropriation. It was $1.6 billion. Lloyd Austin. This is a funny thing about. Sometimes you'll get a little nugget out of the liberal media. In an article earlier this year, he said that the Ukrainian Defense Fund would now be increased to $6 billion. So that's $6 billion. I suspect this is the money that this is the embezzlement money, or this is some of the embezzlement money. I also think this is some of the money that the U.S. politicians are wetting their beaks with. This money. So it's quite profitable. And in these coming appropriations, as this next $60 billion, again, so $55 billion of that last appropriation was to replace weapons, for us to replace weapons and ammo that we give Ukraine, but approximately $6 billion was for Ukraine to go out and spend it as they see fit on weapon systems that may not be provided by the U.S., maybe even their own weapon systems. But I think they're using that to embezzle with. I'm also not very surprised by anything here. Ukraine interfered in the 2016 election. This is when Poroshenko was president. They interfered against Trump from both embassies. Fake communiques, politicians actually coming out and bashing Trump, fake foreign communiques about Russia, about Trump being a Russian agent, things like that. They were coming out of both the U.S. embassy in Ukraine and the Ukraine embassy in the U.S. I don't know if you remember this character, Alexander Chalupa.
Oh, yeah, no, I do. I do.
With this.
No, Tom, look, your information is rock solid. Everything what you're saying is completely accurate. What's different, you're right. They did interfere in 2016. They were colluding with the Hillary Clinton campaign. They were feeding the Trump-Russia collusion lie. What's different this time was, Poroshenko, the predecessor to Zelensky, never publicly on American soil said, vote for Hillary, Trump sucks. Right? I mean, so what they've now done, you want to talk about an escalation. They don't just want a military escalation with the war with Russia. This is a political escalation here in the United States. And this is why, Republicans are, in Pennsylvania, Republicans are losing their minds. I don't blame them. They're livid. Zelensky is trying now to tilt the election in Pennsylvania, and everybody knows Trump wins Pennsylvania, this thing is over. And he was there on behalf of the Kamala campaign. This is direct, it's illegal. It's direct foreign election interference. Nothing shocks me anymore, but holy mackerel. Is there no end to what the Democrats are willing to do to try to prevent Trump from winning? It's beyond disgusting. And Zelensky and his regime need to pay the price. Agree, disagree. 9:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, look, let me just lay it out for everybody. I think a major reason why Zelensky can't stand Trump is he can't bribe him. Everybody knows what the Biden crime family has done in Ukraine. They're up to their eyeballs in kickbacks, corruption, bribery, money laundering. Hunter was the front man with Burisma and all these powerful oligarchs around Zelensky. So everybody knows that a lot of politicians here in the United States, led by the Bidens, have enriched themselves millions and millions, if not tens of millions of dollars into what's happening in Ukraine. Trump has not taken a dime from any oligarch, never mind Zelensky and his people. So, yeah, does Zelensky want Trump to lose? Of course. Why? He can't buy him. He can't bribe him. And Zelensky doesn't want the war to end. He doesn't want the war to end because then his gravy train ends. So this is about greed and corruption. And now this greed and corruption has crashed right into the middle of our election campaign. So let me throw this log on the fire. Do you think Zelensky's endorsement of Kamala Harris and his attacks on Trump and Vance, will it move the needle in any way, shape, or form in Pennsylvania or in other key battleground states? I'm just curious. Do you think the people of Pennsylvania care who Zelensky wants them to vote for. 617-266-6868. David in Brookline. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you
Hi,
for
David.
taking my call.
My pleasure.
Jeff, you know, the liberals, or let's say Bill and others like him, did they ever think this through? What makes them so sure, since they all say that Putin is a madman and he's the worst thing, and he's got all these terrible intentions, and he's crazy. What makes them so sure he won't use nuclear weapons? Therefore, what is the benefit to keep this going? That's number one. It's insanity. Number two, when it started, Jeff, and I know you're a student of history, and you always look at the source and what happened step by step. This war was part slow motion mass brainwashing, and that's, if you remember, first you've got the steps by the Biden administration that actually, and I'm not saying that that's absolutely what caused it, but it certainly didn't help it. And finally, Jeff, the source, follow the money. You used a great word earlier, which prompted me to call, shyster. This guy Zelensky is a world-class shyster. He's not out there losing his family, and the people fronting him, Jeff, the globalists or the World Economic Forum, which he's tightly connected to, they probably all have, literally, because I've read about it, underground luxury bunkers. So God forbid, if the nukes start flying, it's not going to be them that go up in smoke. So, again, Bill, what is it other than you being intimidated by a masculine person, President Trump, that you don't like about his policies? One thing, because the world was much better 3.5 years ago.
Oh, there's no question. The world was much better off 3.5 years ago. And, David, just to circle back to your initial point, which I thought was absolutely brilliant, the very same people who are telling us Putin is Hitler. By the way, notice anybody they don't like is Hitler. I just love that. How everybody's Hitler. Trump is Hitler. I remember Bashir Assad, Hitler, Saddam, Hitler, Gaddafi, Hitler. Now Putin, he's Hitler. Okay, so he's Hitler. Well, Putin is now Hitler with nuclear weapons. I'm just going by their logic. So what? You don't think Hitler, if he had nuclear weapons, he wouldn't have used them? Of course he'd use them. So you're completely right. He's a madman. He's crazy. He's Hitler. He's unstable. He's nuts. He wants to rule the world. But don't worry. We're going to rain cruise missiles all over his country. We're going to destroy Russian cities. We're going to slaughter hundreds of thousands of Russians. And don't worry. He won't fire a single nuclear missile. No, because now he's rational. Now he's not a madman. Now he's not Hitler. So you're completely right. That's the fundamental flaw in their logic. If he's crazy and a madman, why do you want to push this guy to the brink? David, forgive me. David, absolutely flawless. Thank you very much for that call. John, again, best audience in the business. John in Lawrence. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
I got a theory about why the media's showing all that stuff about Biden, about Trump.
Yes, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I believe it's because Trump wants to get rid of the Federal Reserve. And you saw what they did to Kennedy when he wanted to get rid of the Federal Reserve. I think that's the whole story. And the Federal Reserve is run by the Rothschilds, and the Rothschilds control the media. They put on whatever they want.
Well, I don't know about the Rothschilds. I've heard that conspiracy theory for a very long time. But John, and look, I just want to stick to the facts. And Donald Trump wants to audit the Fed. That he's said that many times. He wants to audit the Fed. He also wants to do something else, which is set up this government efficiency commission led by Elon Musk. And they're going to look at the massive bureaucracy in Washington. And there are very powerful vested interests there. And they're going to look at this. And Trump says, we're going to cut, we're going to slash, we're going to get rid of all the waste and fraud and abuse. And that's threatening a lot of people. And you look at the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is, to me, the root cause of so much of what's wrong in our country. The reason why we have record deficits, Federal Reserve. The reason why we have so much inflation, Federal Reserve. The reason why we're basically on the verge of becoming bankrupt, Federal Reserve. And the bankers, Wall Street, oligarchs, generally the financiers have made an enormous, almost unimaginable sum of money because of the Federal Reserve. There's no question. The corporate, financial, economic elite, not just of the United States, but of the world, love that Federal Reserve. So when Trump says, because this is what Ron Paul and Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul, have recommended to him, they go, there's so much corruption around the Federal Reserve. Just audit it. Just let the American people see where all the money is going and who's making all these decisions behind the scenes. And there's full-blown panic. Look, it's like an audit for all that money going to Ukraine. To this day, we don't know where much of the money is gone. And by the way, literally billions of dollars disappeared. They're gone. Just gone. And you remember Rand Paul said, can we just have an auditor? I'm not even saying don't send the money. Send the money. Rand Paul said, look, send the money. Send it. I just want an accountant. I just want somebody track the money. Where is it going? Does it really go to buy weapons? Is it really going to pay pensions and people and teachers' salaries? Or is a lot of the money being siphoned and stolen? And then kickbacks here into the United States and to politicians in Washington. I thought they were going to shoot him on the Senate floor. They went berserk against Rand Paul. The media, the Democrats, establishment Republicans, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell. I thought they were going to get a conniption. I thought they were going to get a heart attack. So it's obvious, John. Follow the money. You follow the money, you see where all the rot and the corruption is. And the big money is against Trump. And to me, that should tell you everything you need to know. 617-266-6868. I want to go to Kenny in Weston. Kenny, hang on. I've got a break. I want to take your call, take others. Couple lines are open if you want to jump on. 617-266-6868. The question before the House. What do you make now of Zelensky's decision, funded, supported by Kamala Harris and her campaign, to openly meddle and interfere in the election, calling on American voters, especially in Pennsylvania, to vote against Trump and J.D. Vance? Are you shocked? Do you think it'll make a difference? And should we cut off all aid to Ukraine? 9:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Sandy made an absolutely brilliant point. I said, Sandy, you're a genius. I'm like, I can't, I think I have pneumonia. Just said, people are saying, Jeff, you sound a little ill. Anyway, I'm going to go see the doctor after the show. But anyway, let that go. The point being, Sandy Shack made an absolutely brilliant point to me off air. Putin also endorsed Kamala Harris. Now, he did it from Moscow. He did it at a press conference, right? He didn't do it on American soil in a swing state, and by the way, he's not taking money from the United States. He's not supposedly, quote unquote, our ally, the way Zelensky is. So he's not taking U.S. taxpayer money. But the point is, and she's completely right, Putin endorsed Kamala Harris. So think about it. The two protagonists in the war both have endorsed Kamala Harris for different reasons. Putin, because she thinks she's so pathetically weak he can roll her, and Zelensky, because he wants to extract more money from her. You can't make this up. Seriously, you can't make. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. You can't make this up. Kenny in Weston. Thanks for holding, Kenny, and welcome.
Hi. Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Kenny.
Hey, I got a question. Is how much of a priority is the wall? The wall over there. I mean, what's he doing over here? Spending that time? Shouldn't he be over there fighting that war? I mean, yeah, you know.
Oh, Kenny, look, it's not. Look, I get it. He wants to present. It's a victory plan. Okay, this is the plan that he's trying to sell Biden and Kamala. It's a $1 trillion. It's over 10 years. He wants $1 trillion just from us. So $100 billion a year. He wants the Europeans to chip in another $100 billion a year. So for the next 10 years, they want $2 trillion to be poured into Ukraine. They want access to all of our advanced weaponry, all of our cruise missiles, all of our long-range missiles, the British as well, and the French. And they want a 10-year war plan. So they want to bomb Russian cities and hit deep inside Russia for a decade. Unlimited military aid, unlimited economic aid. And essentially what he's calling for is that NATO take over the war from Ukraine. That's his so-called plan. So, yeah, he's here to sell the plan. Okay, I get that. But Kenny, he's always traveling. It's not once or twice a year to extract hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. He's in Poland. He's in Germany. He's in France. He's in, you name it. He's in Africa. He's in China. All this guy does is have a private plane and gallivant and fly all over the world. And that's another reason why Ukrainians have soured on his leadership. They go, if you spent as much time here as you did abroad, maybe we'd be winning this war. So you're completely right, Kenny. Look, he's a grifter. Okay, he's a shyster. All he wants to do is line his pockets and that of his cronies. And war is good business for him. Look, he can be a billionaire out of this. If he plays his cards right, he can be one of the wealthiest oligarchs in the world. He just needs this war to continue and for us to keep funding him. That's what this is all about for this guy. So you're completely right, Kenny. He's got a war to fight. Why isn't he fighting the war? Kenny, what's your theory?
Basically, what you're saying, how he's doing all that traveling. Are you talking like a traveling salesman? Maybe, yeah. But anyhow, I'll tell you what. I will give heavily consideration vote for Kamala Harris under one condition. If they could show us on record where all the money that we gave to them, where it went. That's all.
Oh, you'll never see that, Kenny. You know why? Because it went right into their bank accounts. That's where a lot of that money went. Kenny, thank you very much for that call. Who do you want me to go to next, Mike? Carol in Medford. Carol, I hate to do this to you. I've got about 2 minutes. The floor is yours. Go.
Okay. I just want to say that I believe we're not going to have an election on November 5th. I believe martial law is coming in. My own guess, just what Zelensky did with his election. And we're in trouble.
Well, look, Carol, I can just tell you this. If there is World War III, if this really breaks out in Ukraine, and NATO is now fighting Russia, we have an American-led NATO alliance launching unlimited cruise missiles into Russia, and the Russians respond. either with a devastating military attack or, God forbid, a tactical nuclear strike, it's World War III. And I don't know if they would hold an election then during World War III. I agree with you. In fact, look what they would do. They'd probably call me a Russian traitor. They'd say I'm some kind of a pro-Putin stooge. They'd call Trump a pro-Putin stooge. And I think they would try to use that as an excuse to start taking conservatives off the air and jailing MAGA supporters. I would not be shocked at all. So, look, they're itching for a war with Russia. And if we're not careful, Carol, we're going to get it. And I agree with you. They may suspend the election. I hope not. I pray not. But with these gangsters in power, nothing surprises me anymore, Carol. Carol, final word to you. Can't go back? All right, ran out of time. Carol, thank you so much for that call and for having the courage, for saying what many people are thinking. Fingers crossed. Let's keep praying for Donald Trump. Remember the hand of God. I gotta go. Bye-bye.